The Galactic Council chamber was never quiet, but today the noise was different. It was fear. Every delegate, from the tall insectoid Vrox to the shimmering water-filled tanks of the Illyrians, spoke over one another. Messages had been flooding. In from every corner of the galaxy since dawn, colonies abandoned, trade routes silent, human embassies empty. Not one single human life form had been found anywhere. They were simply gone. No goodbye, no signal. Just vanished overnight, as if the species had been erased. The Thalan ambassador slammed a claw on the desk. They were everywhere. Our colonies stretched from the rim to the core. You do not make an entire species vanish in one night. The old Zarin scholar shook his long, furred head, as he whispered, they wanted to vanish. The room fell silent for a moment, but only for a moment.
Ow.
Then the arguing began again, sharper than before. Some thought it was a disaster, others a blessing. Humanity had been unpredictable, dangerous even, but they had also been the galaxy's fiercest allies. Reports from search teams were strange and unsettling. On Mars Station, a human meal still steamed on the table, untouched. A mining ship was found drifting with its engines running, lights still on, but no crew. A frontier hospital had its doors open and medical bots working, but no patients. It was as if life had simply stepped away mid-breath. The Kresh envoy, her eyes like black glass, leaned forward. "This is not an attack," she said. "If it was, there would be wreckage, blood, panic. But there's nothing. This is clean." That word made several delegates shiver in the middle of the chaos. Chancellor Luruk of the Council stood and raised his voice until it cut through the noise. "We will form a task force. We'll search every human world, every ship, every moon they have touched. There must be an answer." His tone was firm, but in the deep folds of his face, worry had already taken root. Everyone knew that if humanity had left on purpose, they must have had a reason, and that reason might still be out there. 3 days later, search brought something no one expected. A faint signal was detected, weak but steady, repeating the same pattern every 30 seconds. It was a human distress beacon, one of their oldest designs, rarely used anymore. The strange part was its location. It wasn't coming from a human world or ship. It was coming from the very heart of the Council's own capital planet. Deep underground beneath the oldest district, the Council sent a small investigation team for armed guards, engineers, and one historian who had studied human history for decades. They descended through forgotten maintenance shafts and corridors that hadn't been walked in centuries. The air was stale, the walls covered in the dust of ages. The beacon's signal grew stronger with every step until the team reached a huge sealed door made of black metal, nothing like the Council's own designs. Its surface was smooth, almost too smooth, and in the center glowed a single line of human script. The historian leaned closer, tracing the words with a trembling finger. It was a warning, simple, sharp, and repeated in dozens of alien languages. "Do not activate." The team exchanged uneasy glances. No one spoke for a moment, but the guards instinctively tightened their grip on their weapons. The door hissed and slid open on its own, as though it had been waiting. Inside was a massive chamber. It's completely dark except for one thing at its center. A perfect black sphere, the size of a cargo shuttle, floating silently in the air. Faint pulses of light shimmered across its surface like ripples on water. One of the engineers stepped closer, scanning it with a handheld device. "No energy readings I recognize," she murmured. "It's not made of any known alloy. And it's not touching the floor, it's just hanging there." The historian's voice was barely above a whisper. "I've read about this. Old records from the first human contacts mentioned something like it.
How'd they cold?
A century." The pulse of light slowed, then quickened, almost like a heartbeat. The beacon's signal stopped without warning, and the air in the chamber seemed to grow heavier. The historian stepped back. "We should leave now." Guards looked ready to agree, but before they could move, Sphere's surface rippled again this time, forming a single glowing circle. From it came a voice. It was not human, not alien, but something in between. The voice spoke in perfect council standard, smooth and calm, yet carrying an edge that made the skin prickle. "They are coming for you now." No one moved. No one breathed. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. The voice spoke again, slower this time, as if making sure it was understood. "You have woken the signal. They will not forgive you." The sphere's light faded back to faint pulses. Silence returned to the chamber, but it was no longer the silence of an empty room. It was the silence of something waiting. The historian's heart pounded in his chest. His mind screamed to run, to seal the door, to bury this place deeper than the core of the planet. But deep down, he knew the truth. The council capital had seen fear before, but never like this. The moment the investigation team returned with their report, the chamber erupted. The words from the black sphere spread across every corner of the planet within hours. "They are coming for you now." Delegates demanded answers. Who were they? Why had the device been buried under the council's own capital? And, most importantly, what did it mean that we had woken it? The engineers who had examined the sphere were kept under constant questioning. They could not explain how it worked, what it was made of, or why its surface seemed to defy physical laws. "It's not just hovering," one of them said, voice shaking during the debriefing. "It's holding itself in place in a way that doesn't make sense. It's like it's not even part of our space." Chancellor Leruc called an emergency meeting in the highest security chamber. Every faction leader was present, except for the humans, of course. Their seats sat empty, an unspoken reminder of the mystery that had started all of this. Historian, who had seen the device firsthand, stood before them, his fur damp with sweat. The warnings were written in over 60 languages, many no longer in use. Some are from civilizations long gone. Humans wanted to make sure no one touched this thing. "Hey." The Illyrian delegate's water-filled tank bubbled anxiously. "Then why hide it here on our capital world? Were they using us as some kind of shield?" The insectoid Vrock's ambassador clicked her mandibles sharply. "No, if they hid it here, it was because they believed no one would think to look. Until now." Even as they argued, reports of strange disturbances began to arrive from across the capital. Power surges blacked out entire districts for seconds at a time. Communication lines flickered with bursts of static that formed short patterns the engineers claimed matched the pulse sequence of the sphere. The Chancellor ordered the device to be guarded by elite troops, but the more cautious members of the council wanted it destroyed. "If it is a weapon, we cannot risk it falling into the wrong hands," said the Kresh envoy. Others protested, claiming it might be a communication device, a possible way to find humanity. Destroying it might cut off our only chance to learn where they went. The debate turned into shouting. They fought deep below the city. The sphere pulsed faster. A small team of scientists and security personnel were sent down to monitor it directly. They set up scanners and relay drones, carefully keeping their distance. For the first hour, nothing unusual happened. Then the sphere's surface shifted again, ripples forming strange geometric shapes that no one could interpret. The chambers. Lights dimmed, and an icy wind seemed to pass through the air, though there was no source for it. Without warning, the sphere spoke again, its voice echoing in every corner of the chamber and, according to council communication logs, in every active comm channel across the capital. "They will arrive sooner now. Your time is shorter than you believe." The guards in the chamber exchanged uneasy glances. One of them, a veteran of 3 border wars, swallowed hard and asked, "Who is coming? What are they?" The sphere's reply was immediate. Not, "What? Who? You woke the call? They will come for you, as they came for us." Before anyone could ask more, the sphere went silent again. But something else had changed. The scanners picked up faint vibrations beneath the floor, deep in the bedrock. It was as if something vast was moving far below the city, something that had been still for a very long time. That night, energy grids failed in unpredictable patterns. Security drones near the chamber froze midair and crashed to the ground. And in the deepest security feeds, flashes of light could be seen moving inside the sphere itself. It's like storms raging under its surface. In a last attempt to understand, the council authorized a full scan using the most advanced deep penetration. Sensors available. The results came back incomplete, riddled with gaps and data corruption, but one image stood out. Inside the sphere was not machinery, not wires or circuits. There was a void, and in the center of that void, a faint silhouette of something humanoid, floating in darkness. The historian stared at the image for a long time, his hands trembling. "This isn't a machine," he whispered. "It's a prison." Before anyone could react, alarms erupted. Across the capital, a fleet of unknown ships had just crossed into council space, no identification, no response to hails, and moving directly toward the capital at impossible speed. And then the sphere pulsed once more, brighter than ever, and spoke a third time. "They have found you." The capital world had not sounded its planetary sirens in over 2 centuries. When they began to wail, their deep, rising tones shook the air like the roar of some ancient beast. Streets that had been crowded only hours ago emptied as citizens rushed for shelter. In the council chamber, the news screen showed the incoming fleet, black, needle-shaped ships with no visible engines. Gliding through space at impossible speeds, they ignored every hail, every warning. As though the council's words were meaningless, panic spread through the delegates. Some screamed for the sphere to be destroyed at once. Others shouted that it should be activated, that maybe it was some kind of defense. The chancellor tried to bring order, but no one listened. The historian who had been to the chamber stood apart, his gaze fixed on the live feed of the approaching fleet. Something about their shape made his stomach twist. He had seen those forms before, etched into ancient human star maps, always marked with a single word: exiles. The council's defense fleet scrambled, but the unknown ships were already too close. Out! Without warning, the sphere deep beneath the city began to hum. Every scanner monitoring it lit up with readings so high the equipment began to burn out. In the chamber itself, the floating black surface cracked not physically, but in the way light seemed to fracture around it. The voice returned, calm and cold. "You have broken the seal. The path is open." In orbit, the first council defense. Ships engaged the invaders. Beams of energy struck the black holes and vanished without effect. The return fire was silent, invisible and devastating. Entire ships simply came apart, their pieces drifting in slow motion before burning in the planet's atmosphere. On the surface, the capital shook as debris rained down in glowing streaks. The Creche envoy slammed her claws onto the chancellor's desk. "Use it. Whatever it is, activate it now." Others protested violently, shouting that they had no idea what it would do. In the middle of the chaos, a group of delegates from smaller worlds moved quickly. They had already lost contact with their own systems. Fear had given them resolve. Without waiting for approval, they sent an override command to the security. Doors around the sphere's chamber. The guards tried to stop them, but the group was desperate. The lead delegate, a thin, sharp-eyed Thalon, stepped forward and placed his palm on the sphere's surface. It rippled beneath his touch like liquid, and a blinding white light filled the chamber. Every system in the city flickered. In orbit, the attacking ships hesitated for the first time, as if sensing something had changed. Across the galaxy, hidden human-built stations that had been silent for decades suddenly roared to life. On dead moons and forgotten asteroid belts, deep under alien oceans, massive machines unfolded like sleeping giants. Signals pulsed outward in every direction, passing faster than light. Entire regions reported strange gravitational disturbances. Fleets sent to investigate simply vanished. The historian watched the reports pour in, his mind numb. "This isn't a weapon," he murmured. "It's a call." The chancellor turned on him sharply. "A call to whom?" Before he could answer, the sphere spoke again, its voice now carrying a weight that seemed to press into the bones of everyone who heard it. "They will hear, will come, but so will the others." Above the capital, the rip in space appeared. Without warning, it wasn't like a normal wormhole or jump gate. It tore reality apart like thin cloth, a jagged wound that pulsed with unnatural light. The enemy fleet froze in place, their formation breaking as if unsure whether to advance or flee. From within the tier, massive shadows moved, their outlines sharp against the blinding glow. Every com channel lit up with the same alert from planetary defense. Unknown contact emerging from rift. Size colossal. Identity-human. And then, out of the wound in space. The first human warship appeared sleeker and more massive than any in recorded history. Why, its black hull gleaming like the void itself. Its arrival shook the very air of the planet. They had come back, but the way their ships formed into a battle line, weapons ready, made one thing clear. They had not returned as friends. The first human warship hung in orbit like a silent predator, its black surface drinking in the starlight. Behind it, more shapes emerged from the rift, dozens of vessels, each larger and deadlier looking than the last. They were nothing like the human ships the Council remembered. Gone were the patched together freighters and clumsy colonial transports. These were sleek, predatory machines, bristling with weapon ports and glowing with energy that made even the most advanced alien scanners overload. In the Council chamber, silence fell. No one dared to speak as the images played on the massive wall screens. The humans had come back, but their arrival brought no relief, only tension so thick it felt like the air itself might snap. Then a voice cut across every frequency, every com channel, and every screen on the planet. This is Admiral Kieran Holt of the Terran Vanguard. Council world, you have broken the seal. You understand what you have done? The Chancellor hesitated before answering, his voice low and formal. Humanity vanished without warning. We sought too, you sought nothing, Holt interrupted, his voice cold as steel. You woke the signal we swore never to use. You have brought them here. Every delegate leaned forward. The historian, standing at the side of the chamber, felt his heart pound. Them could only mean the needle-shaped ships still drifting in the upper atmosphere. Watching like vultures, Admiral Holt's gaze hardened. They are the exiles, our oldest enemy. The reason we left this galaxy is for over a century, we fought them beyond the edge of known space, where their reach could not follow. We buried that sphere on your world as a warning, a last barrier. And now, because of your ignorance, they will tear this galaxy apart. On the screens, the exile ships began to shift formation, sliding into attack patterns. Council defense fleets were gone or scattered, leaving only the human warships to face them. For a moment, hope flickered. Perhaps humanity had returned, to protect them after all. But Holt's next words killed that hope instantly. We will fight them. But if we fall, your worlds will burn first. Understand this, the exiles do not conquer, they erase. From the rift above, space itself began to tremble. A shadow, unlike anything seen before, pushed through a shape so vast it blotted out the stars. It was no ship in the traditional sense. It was alive, a colossal alien leviathan, its body covered. In jagged living armor emerged slowly from the tier, its movements impossibly slow for something so massive. Lightning-like energy arced across its skin, striking nearby ships and reducing them to molten wreckage. Panic rippled through the chamber. The insectoid Vrox ambassador's voice shook as she hissed, "That thing. It's not just alive, it's hungry." Admiral Holt's fleet moved into formation, their weapons charging in unison. Beams of light lanced through the void, striking the Leviathan's armor and forcing it to recoil, but only slightly. The thing roared, a deep vibration that made the very planet quake. Holt's voice cut through the chaos once more. "We didn't come back for you. Came back because if they reach this galaxy's core, nothing will survive, not even us." His eyes locked on the Chancellor through the feed. "And now, because of you, the only way to stop them might destroy half of everything you know." The chamber erupted with shouts. Some delegates screamed to surrender the sphere to the humans. Others accused them of lying. The historian, however, could only stare at the feet of the Leviathan and the gathering fleets. In his gut, he knew Holt was telling the truth. Above, the Leviathan shifted its gaze toward the planet below. Energy built along its armored plates, gathering into a weapon that could scour the surface in seconds. The humans moved to intercept, but more exile ships poured from the rift, cutting them off. The battle for the capital had begun and the galaxy's fate hung by a thread. The sky above the capital burned. From the ground, it looked as if the stars themselves were shattering. replaced by streaks of fire and the silent flashes of weapons far beyond the clouds. Human warships and exile vessels clashed in vicious arcs, their strikes carving holes into the darkness. The colossal Leviathan moved slowly, but with terrifying purpose. Swatting aside smaller ships like insects, its living armor crackling with bursts of energy that ripped warcraft apart. In a single hit in the council chamber, chaos had reached breaking point. Alarms blared, the floor trembled, and communications officers shouted over one another as incoming reports confirmed that multiple cities on the surface were already going to burn to ash by debris or destroyed by smaller exile craft that had slipped past the defense line. Admiral Holt's image appeared again on the main screen. His voice clipped and urgent. "We can't hold them off for long. That thing won't stop until the sphere is destroyed or used. And using it will cost more than you can imagine." The Chancellor's voice cracked. "What does it do?" "It will seal the rift," Holt replied. "It will stop the exiles from ever coming here again. But the energy release will burn through every unstable star within 500 light years. Entire systems will die. Millions, maybe billions, will be lost." The chamber erupted. Some delegates demanded the weapon be fired immediately, arguing that billions dead was better than a galaxy erased. Others screamed that humanity had no right to make such a choice for them. The historians stood frozen, remembering the image from the sphere's scans, the humanoid silhouette trapped within its void, down in the underground chamber. Guarded only by a handful of soldiers, the black sphere pulsed faster and faster, each a flash of light shaking the air like a heartbeat under strain. Then, without any command from the council, it spoke for the last time. "If you wish to live, you must choose now." Above, the Leviathan drew closer, its massive shadow passing across the planet's surface. Human warships flung themselves at it in suicidal strikes, tearing chunks of armor free, but barely slowing its advance. Holt's voice cut in again. "This is it. Either you trigger it, or we all die here. I won't be able to hold them much longer." The Chancellor's hands shook as he looked at the gathered delegates. Faces stared back, some pleading, some furious, some already resigned. The Kresh envoy leaned forward, her voice like a hiss in the silence. "Better a scarred galaxy than no galaxy at all." Single command was entered. Deep beneath the capital, the sphere's surface erupted with light so bright it burned through every camera feed. The pulse surged upward, through the city, past the clouds, and into space. Slamming into the rift, the Leviathan screamed, a sound that made the ground quake, and the ocean's boils. The rift began to collapse, its jagged edges folding inward. Exile ships tried to flee, but the light consumed them one by one, tearing them apart as if they were made of smoke. Even human warships were caught in the wave, some vanishing before they could escape. From the surface, it was like watching the night sky turn into a sea of fire, and then silence. The rift was gone. The exiles were gone. But so were countless stars. On the Council's galactic maps, hundreds of systems winked out, replaced by empty space where suns had once burned. When the light faded from the sphere, it fell to the floor with a dull, lifeless thud. The humanoid shape inside was gone. "Admiral," Holt's voice returned, quieter now, heavy with exhaustion. "It's done. But the price. You will remember it for centuries." The council chamber was silent, the weight of what they had unleashed settling over every mind. Outside, the sky was empty again, but the galaxy itself was forever smaller.